So we'll start with A/B testing today. Does anyone know what A/B testing is? How many of you have heard about A/B testing before? Yeah, please speak out. So if anyone has heard of A/B testing, what do you understand
So,
from this? Yeah.
according to me, the A/B testing is like once the product is designed, the two versions of the product is made. Like one is for the according to the preference of the public, and other one that companies allow, or something like that. Two cases are made. Both are tested for 50%, 50% of the publics. Then the more interactive or the more good feedbacks that the version receives, that version is used as the main version, that product.
Correct. So it is not exactly the more feedback that the product receives, that the version receives. It's about whether that feedback is positive and depends on whether we really want to see that change in our product. All of that, right? So that is uh, essentially what is A/B testing. Anyone wants to speak out? Anyone wants to add a point or something? All right. So if no one has anything else to add, let me explain what A/B testing is. We compare two versions of any product, right? That product can be an app, website, or any software product, even a hardware product, right? Let's say two versions of the same cycle we are comparing, version 1.0 and 2.0, that something like that. So we are trying to compare two versions of something, and it has mostly been used for marketing and advertising in previous times, but now it's being used very frequently by product analysts and product managers. So a lot of decisions are taken through A/B testing. So let's say I'll give you a very real life example. I was working on one feature during my internship at Oyo Rooms. So I was working on some feature on the Oyo app, and for that we required a lot of data, and we were confused which version would be more suitable in a particular region. So we wanted to launch a new feature for some particular state in India. I think it was Jammu and Kashmir. So we were launching a particular feature for that region, and we wanted to be very sure which version would be better received by users. So that way, A/B testing is very helpful. We used A/B testing, and we could easily identify that this version of our feature, of the new feature that we are about to launch, this version will be better received by people, will be more positively received by people. Right? So that is how A/B testing can help PMs build better products. Now, within A/B test, a PM can experiment by releasing multiple versions of a new feature, layout, or another product element. So it can be anything, right? It can be some small button change, even a change in the color of a button can be, can make either blue button or yellow button can have two versions of the same web page or that product, or application or app screen or anything of that sort. So basically, yeah. So we ran element to a randomly selected segment of the user base and learn which of those versions users respond to most favorably. So this favorably can also be very subjective, right? We need to define what is more favorable for us, and we need to have very clear objectives before we um, go on with the A/B testing experiment. This is an experiment basically. Now, this might sound very obvious that we need to define the objective and we need to be very clear. But sometimes what happens is people go on and do the entire experiment, but then they get mixed reactions and they get confused. So you need to have one single metric in mind, that okay, this is the metric that I want to target, and I want to be very sure that if this metric is achieved, or is if this number is achieved, I'll choose that version. So we need to be very sure. We need to define everything properly before A/B testing, right? Um, so first we do some research, then we formulate a hypothesis. This is very important, right? Let's say version A is better than version B. This is a hypothesis. So we formulate a hypothesis and then we create a variation. Version B is a variation of version A. That is a variation. And then we finally go on and test. We release version A to, let's say, 50% of the users in Jammu and Kashmir, and we release version B to, let's say, another set of the other 50% of the users in Jammu and Kashmir. Right? Just given an example that you can release a product to various sets of audience. Right? That is the process, and finally we analyze results and draw conclusions. Now I'll show one. This is basically the result. Now the blue one is with A/B testing. We are getting better results, and without A/B testing, we are getting. Now this can be, the total number of sales, the total revenue generated, anything of that sort. And with A/B testing, you definitely get better results. Now, within A/B testing, there are uh, two things that we define. One is control, and the second is variation. This is exactly what I told you, right? This is version A basically. Control version is the base version, and when we make a change to the base version, we get the variation one. We get version B, right? So let's say I got only 23% conversion in my. Let's say I'm building. I'm trying to improve the Flipkart shopping cart experience. So let's say the only 23% people converted. What do I mean by converted? I mean that let's say, out of the people who put an item in the cart, only 23% actually went ahead and bought that item. That is the meaning of conversion when I talk about Flipkart shopping experience. So when I talk about 23%, that is the control part, that is the base version that is happening now. But let's say now I make some change, I improve the shopping cart by adding some button or making some change, then that will be the variation version, and I'll get, let's say, 33% conversions that way. So definitely this version will be preferred, and I'll go ahead and release this version, or I'll probably update the previous version to this one. So that is all that is possible. Right? I think you get the gist. This Flipkart shopping cart experience is a very good example of A/B testing, and I'm very sure that those people use A/B tests very frequently. Any questions till here? All right, we'll continue. I was telling you the process, right? So again, this is the same thing. So where does it start? You can start. So basically, we start from here. Identify the variables and create the variations, right? And then we run the experiment. We measure the results. Then, basis the results, we determine the conversion that we need to. Okay, we start here only. So first, we determine the conversion that we want to improve, and then we define the hypothesis, right? What is the change that I'm expecting? And then we go ahead and identify the variables. I run the experiment, and finally I measure the results. So this is where it ends. And then I may want to, make some further changes, and this cycle can go on. So basically, this is the process for A/B testing. All right. So that was it about A/B testing. I think this is all you need to know. There's a lot of statistics involved in A/B testing. So they might, when they ask you a question in interviews related to A/B testing, they might ask things like p-value. Like I have covered all that in the Data 101 course. Or let's say hypothesis testing. They might ask questions about hypothesis testing as well. So these are statistics concepts, and if you've done the statistics course in college, then you would know these concepts. All right, so that is it about A/B testing.